Today we're going to talk about Abraham Joshua Heschel, a Polish-born Jewish theologian and philosopher of religion who was born in 1907 and died in 1972. Now, as you'll see, there are two other resources associated with this particular lecture, and that is a video with an interview with Heschel before he died. It was recorded a few weeks before he died. And next to that, there is also an excerpt from his book, Man, a God in Search of Man. Heschel was born in Poland, but he had to leave Poland in 1938 when the Nazis were taking over Europe and were persecuting Jews such as him and his family. And unfortunately, his mother died and his two sisters died in a concentration camp. And basically, the books that I'm interested in today are two books where he talks about philosophy of Judaism and Jewish practices, namely Man is Not Alone and God in Search of Man. And from that book you have the excerpt. So as you'll see in the video, Heschel finds practice really important in Judaism, and he starts out by saying that a life without discipline is not worth living. And that's an interesting link to the importance of orthopraxy. Orthopraxy is the idea of having the right practices. And it can be compared to a closely related notion, namely orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is having the right beliefs. Now, within Christianity, orthodoxy is really important. For example, you have to have the right beliefs about the Trinity. Whereas in Judaism, orthopraxy is more important, namely having the right practices. Now, why should one have the right practices? According to Heschel, practices are important because they ultimately help people to have religious faith. And faith, basically, is an attitude that is born out of the attitudes of wonder and awe. So wonder is this sense of curiosity, this sense of, I don't understand how this is, I want to know more about it. Basically, a sense of being maladjusted to the world, of not taking things for granted. And awe is a sort of bigger sense. He also sometimes calls this radical amazement of something that is bigger than us and that we don't quite grasp. So for Heschel, it's really important to have those senses, and religion, as a matter of fact, gives you that sense. He thinks that religion gives us a legacy of wonder, and that is important to counteract the sense of complacency or taking things for granted that we have. So Heschel writing, at the time he wrote this in the 1950s, people were very optimistic. They thought they had everything figured out. The world, they were on the brink of making all sorts of scientific discoveries. And Heschel doesn't mind those scientific discoveries, but he worries that ultimately we feel falsely, we get a false sense of that we've all got it figured out. As he says, modern man fell into the trap of believing that everything can be explained, that reality is a simple affair which has only to be organized in order to be mastered. By contrast, religion is this feeling, it originates in practices, and those practices ultimately help you to not take the world for granted. So an important element of his philosophy is Judaism, is that rituals are not there to make you feel at ease. They're exactly the opposite. They're supposed to make you question things and to feel as to feel a sense of wonder and awe at the world. Now, these Jewish practices include things such as prayer 3 times a day, blessings. These blessings he spends quite some time talking about. They are uttered at set occasions, such as eating, drinking, seeing the first flowers in spring, seeing a rainbow. The sense for the miracles which are daily with us, the sense of continuous marvels, he says, is the source of such blessings and prayers. Then there are also things such as the study of the Torah and fasting and other religious practices. And this use of practices trains our minds to be open to the world. And that, in his view, is the essence of Jewish religious life. Awareness, he writes, of the divine begins in wonder. It is the result of what man does with his higher incomprehension. The greatest hindrance to such awareness is our adjustment to conventional notions, to mental cliches. Wonder, or radical amazement, the state of maladjustment to words and notions, is therefore a prerequisite for an authentic awareness of that which is. So when you read the chapter, have a look and see, think about what does Heschel think about science, how does science relate to religion, and also have a look at the video to get a better sense of his philosophy of Judaism. Thank you.